Good afternoon, students. I hope you all are doing well. Yeah, we are meeting after a long time. So, today our topic of discussion is from chapter 1, class 10th, that is chemical reaction and equation. So, today we'll be doing about the chemical changes and the features of a chemical reaction, what is a chemical reaction. So all these topics we would be covering in our today's class. Okay, so let's start. Yeah, so students, we know that there are a lot of changes that occur in our everyday life. So many changes, like burning of paper, melting of ice, boiling of milk, curdling of milk, right? And there are so many more changes, like formation of rust, right? And cutting of trees. So we categorize the changes into two types. One are physical changes and the another one are chemical changes. So all these changes, when we study them, then we come to know that there is a difference between these two changes. So what are the two type of changes? Physical changes, and the second one is chemical changes. So firstly, I'll be going to tell you about the differences between these two changes. So one is physical changes, and the second one are chemical changes. You might have studied in class 7th that physical changes, like if I say that tearing of paper or cutting of paper is called a physical change, but burning of paper is called a chemical change. What is the difference between these two? When we cut a paper, then there is nothing, not any change in the properties of a cut paper. Like when it is teared into the pieces, so the paper will stay the same, just the length and breadth of the paper changes, right? But when we burn the paper, then we see that there is a new substance formed. What is that new substance? When a paper is burned, then a lot of gas is emitted along with ashes and smoke, so that we can see that there is something new that is formed from the paper. So this type of change is called a chemical change, where something new is formed and the properties of the substance are completely changed. You know what are chemical properties? Like the existence, the nature of a substance. If I talk about paper, then it is no longer a paper. It has been turned into ashes. It has been turned into the smoke, or it is completely burnt. So the properties are completely changed. So such type of change is called a chemical change. If I talk about boiling of milk, when you simply boil a milk, right? So there is nothing new is formed. You are just passing the temperature, you are just supplying the heat, and the milk will stay the same. There is nothing new formed, right? So when I talk about curdling of milk is formation of curd from the milk. How will you form it? Like you can see that curd is no longer a milk, but it is formed from the milk. So the properties are changed, the chemical properties are changed, and a new substance is formed. So such type of change, like turning of milk into curd, is called a chemical change. Rusting of iron, you must have seen that iron, when it is exposed to moisture like water and oxygen, the color of a reddish brown coating is formed on iron articles, iron objects. So the color of iron will change into reddish brown. So such type of change are also called chemical changes. Burning of fossil fuels, which we have studied, that is called carbonization. So burning of fossil fuel is also a chemical change. There are so many chemical changes which you can also tell me that how will you categorize from physical and chemical changes. So what are chemical changes actually? Chemical changes are in which new substance is formed properties of a substance changes. Properties of a substance changes. What else? What else is coming in your mind? One important point. Old bonds are broken and new bonds are formed. Then we say that it's a chemical change or a chemical reaction. Old bonds are broken and new bonds are formed. You can write it. New bonds are formed. So we call it a chemical change or a chemical reaction, right? If I talk about, if I have to give you some more example of a chemical change, then one is burning of magnesium. Burning of magnesium. So when a magnesium ribbon is burned, firstly it has to be cleaned so that a layer of carbonate, magnesium carbonate, is removed. So if you burn a magnesium ribbon, we know that oxygen is a supporter of combustion. So when magnesium ribbon is burned, so what is formed? You are passing a heat, so magnesium oxide is formed. So if we see that it has been converted into a white powder, when you burn a magnesium ribbon, it will be converted into white powder. So what is that white powder called? It is called magnesium oxide, with a dazzling flame, which is harmful for us, which is harmful for our eyes as well. So this is also a chemical change. You can see that initially it was magnesium only, so after that it has been converted into magnesium oxide. So this is also a chemical change because the properties of an already existing element has been changed and a compound is formed, which is called magnesium oxide. So talking about a chemical reaction, a reaction is said to be occurred when the old bonds are broken and the new bonds are formed with new chemical properties, with new, if I say that there would be something new would be formed, like from the old elements or atoms, new compounds are formed. So such type of reaction is called a chemical reaction. So after this we will be discussing about the features of a chemical reaction, like how do we come to know that whether a chemical reaction is occurred or not, right? So what are the features of a chemical reaction? So first is features of a chemical reaction. Change in color. First is change in color. Let's talk about some everyday examples which we witness in our everyday life. You must have seen the green tomatoes, green chili. After some time they are turned into red color. What is the reason of it? Due to the formation of a substance that is lycopene. Due to this, the color of the green tomatoes and chilies are turned into red. And also if I talk about another examples, like if you cut an apple with iron knife, then it is also turned into brownish color. So there is a change in color. So if I have to explain in chemistry, like with the help of chemical reaction, then we can take an example of copper sulfate. The color of copper sulfate is blue. So when it reacts with iron, it will form, I would be explaining about this reaction to you in later classes. So for this moment, just understand that how this reaction occur and what are the compounds that are formed. This is a strong metal. It will displace sulfate. It will take sulfate from this copper sulfate compound and form iron sulfate and copper. So this is the color of parasulfate is green. So we can see that the color changes. The color of an original compound which was blue has been turned into green due to the formation of parasulfate. There are so many more examples which you can give over here. Like if I say about potassium dichromate, potassium K2Cr2O7. Potassium dichromate, this is orange in color. So when you react this potassium dichromate with sulfur dioxide, then the color of it will change to green. So this also explains that there is a change in color, right? What other examples can you give me about this change in color? Change in color. Potassium permanganate. Potassium, I would write in compound form only. Potassium permanganate. When it reacts with citric acid, you know citric acid is present in a lot of citrus fruits, lemon, amla, orange, so many citrus food from which we get vitamin C. So when it reacts with citric acid, the color of it changes to colorless. It will change to colorless. Initially it was pink in color, so it will change into colorless. So this is also an example where you can see that there is a change in color, right? So next feature of a chemical reaction, change in odor. Odor means smell. Second example is change in odor. So if you see that when you keep a food outside for a long time, then foul smell start coming from the food. That also shows that the fresh fruits are turning into a foul smell and giving foul smell. There is a change in odor, right? And one more example of an egg, fresh egg can change into rotten egg and it starts giving smell. So let's discuss this with an example. When ferrous sulfide, it reacts with dilute sulfuric acid, it will form ferrous sulfate along with the emission of hydrogen sulfide. Because of the formation of this hydrogen sulfide, the fresh egg has changed into, there is a odor that starts coming, that is rotten egg smell. It has turned into rotten egg. So this is also an example of change in odor. There is one more example. If you react ethanoic acid with alcohol, then it results in the formation of a sweet smelling substance that is called ester. So here also you can state that there is a change in odor. When chemical reactions occur, there is a change in the odor, right? So third feature is change in temperature. Change in temperature. See students, some reactions require heat to pass. In some reaction heat is evolved. So if I have to categorize between the reaction which require heat, which are supported by heat, then only they can occur, and the reactions in which heat is evolved after the formation of a reaction. So on the basis of that, I will categorize into two types. One is endothermic reactions, and another one is exothermic reaction. Exothermic reactions. Endo means in. Thermic means heat. So reaction in which heat is absorbed, in which heat is required, and exothermic reaction in which heat is evolved. Heat is evolved. So we are going to discuss, I'm giving you some examples of endothermic reaction and exothermic reaction. Endothermic reaction. I already told you that some reactions require, like if I say combustion means burning of something when there are supporters. Like if I say ki burning of carbon, burning of methane. So burning of carbon, as we know that oxygen is a supporter of combustion. Combustion means the burning in the presence of carbon in the presence of oxygen to form heat and light. So in this reaction, CO2 is formed along with heat and light. Similarly, methane. When methane is burned in the presence of oxygen, then CO2, water, heat and light is formed. Even the burning of respiration is supported by oxygen, and in that process also heat is evolved. Heat and light. Here we can see that the carbon is burnt and there is a production of heat and light, and here also heat and light is formed. So such type of reactions are called exothermic reactions, where heat is evolved. Exothermic reactions, where heat is evolved, such type of reactions are called exothermic reaction. There is also one more example of quicklime. Let's take an example of quicklime. I hope you know what is quicklime. It's calcium oxide. When it reacts with water, it will form slaked lime. What is the formula of slaked lime? CaOH square, along with the evolution of heat. This reaction is also called exothermic reaction because here also heat is evolved, right? So next is endothermic reaction, the reactions which are supported by the passage of heat, by the supply of heat. When heat is absorbed, those reactions are called endothermic reactions. So what are the examples? Initially we have studied that the burning of magnesium ribbon in air, the reverse reaction can also happen. So there magnesium oxide was formed. You can reverse, that was a reversible reaction. So when you pass a heat, it can be split into magnesium and oxygen. So as this is a symbol of heat, that you are supplying heat. This triangle, when you supply heat, this is a symbol of heat. Right? So next is calcium carbonate, limestone. You can heat a limestone and you can form the products. So calcium carbonate, when you pass the heat, after the absorption of heat, it will split into calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. So here quicklime is formed, and this is limestone. So this is an example. These are examples of endothermic reactions. which are accompanied by the absorption of heat. That's why these reactions are called endothermic reactions. You can also break water compound, like water can also be broken by the supply of heat or electric current. It can also be broken into hydrogen and oxygen. So this is also an endothermic reaction. So next is change in temperature. We have studied evolution of a gas. Fourth feature is evolution of a gas. Evolution of gas. So there are so many reactions where gases are released. You can take an example of the reaction of iron with HCl, let's say hydrochloric acid. This is a metal, this is an acid. When metal react with an acid, then hydrogen gas is released, H2. So what is left after that? Hydrogen gas is released, and what is left? FeCl2. As you can see that hydrogen is released, then you can also say that this is a chemical reaction, right? You can take another example. The reaction of sodium carbonate with the same acid, that is hydrochloric acid, twice. CO2 and water is released. CO2 and water is released along with the formation of a salt, 2NaCl. So here also carbon dioxide and this is a gas, CO2, H2 is a water. The gas is released, that is carbon dioxide. So there are a lot of examples which you can give where there is an evolution of gas. Gases are formed in a chemical reaction. The next is change in state. Fifth is change in state. अब state change होने का मतलब क्या है? State, you know, there are different states. That one is solid. Next is liquid. Third one is gas, right? Change in state. Let's say you are taking hydrogen and reacting it with oxygen, then water is formed. यहाँ पे you can see this is a gas. Oxygen is also a gas. This is water, right? So when a product is formed, both are the reactants. The right hand thing is called product. So when a product is formed, we can say it's a water. The state has been changed. Initially both the reactants were gases and the product is a water. So there is a change in state. So this is also one of the feature of a reaction. The last feature is formation of a precipitate. Formation of a precipitate. So when any chemical reaction occurs, then there is also formation of a precipitate. Precipitate is what? Precipitate is an insoluble solid. A solid which is not dissolved in a solution, which floats on the solution, that is called a precipitate. So I can give you one example of a reaction of barium chloride with sodium sulfate. This is barium chloride, this is sodium sulfate. So this barium will react with this sulfate. The reason of this product formation would be explained in the upcoming videos. So this barium will react with sulfate to form barium sulfate, and Na2, this is Cl2. So it will react, it will combine with each other and form 2NaCl, that is a salt. And this compound results in the formation of white precipitate. These reactions are also called precipitation reaction, because here you can see a precipitate is formed. When a precipitate is formed in a product side, then you can say it's a precipitation reaction. One more example you can give. Lead nitrate, okay, plus potassium iodide. This is lead nitrate, this is potassium iodide. Now what is the color of lead nitrate? My question to you is, what is the color of lead nitrate? I hope you will give me. I'll be waiting for your answer in comment section. Lead nitrate and potassium iodide. So this lead will combine with this iodine and it will form lead iodide. Along with this potassium will combine with this nitrate. Here also 2 atoms of potassium, here also 2 compound of nitrate. So it will form 2KNO3. So lead iodide, the color of lead iodide is yellow. Yellow color precipitate is formed in this reaction. So this is called a precipitation reaction. So this was all about the features of a chemical reaction. So first of all, a chemical change is said to be occurred. A chemical reaction is said to be occurred when there is a formation of a new substance. The new properties are formed, old bonds are broken, new bonds are formed. And what are the features? How will you come to know that a chemical reaction has occurred? When there is a formation of a precipitate, change in color, change in odor, change in temperature, evolution of a gas. I hope all these features are clear to you. And students, I would be giving a link in description box where I would be taking live classes regularly. You can download my app, that is Spectrum Study Circle, where you can take daily classes and where you can also go with the course and see the upcoming courses and classes. You can take information about that. Thank you. I hope you have understood the features of the chemical reaction. If you have any doubts, any queries, you can ask in the comment section. So further discussion would be done on the upcoming videos about the types of chemical reactions. Okay, have a nice day. Take care.